Well, what's going on YouTube? Chronos here, and welcome back to the PSO2 video. So today's video, we're going to be talking about the long-awaited Bouncer Phantom tree. So now I will start with taking this. I will mention take this with a grain of salt, guys. I haven't personally gotten a chance to actually play this. I have played it in the past. I have played it on JP, and at the time I wasn't super enthusiastic about it just because the changes hadn't taken effect that currently are in effect in Global. The plan was to play Bouncer Phantom while waiting for Etoile. However, they released Phantom and Etoile at the same time. Everyone who follows the stream knows Etoile is my main class, was my main class over on JP. I enjoy it quite a bit. So I haven't really touched Bouncer Phantom. However, I do plan to play a bit of Bouncer Phantom. It's just that they do play very differently between the two classes and require different abilities. So I'm going to look into possibly messing around with my units to play a little bit of both. We'll have to see how that works out. Like I said, to each of their own. We'll have to figure out how I'm going to be continuing moving forward. But I did want to talk about this tree because it is a bit different than the usual tree that we go for. So, disclaimer, Bouncer is best played with both weapons. Using both weapons will net you more damage overall if you're proficient in both weapons. However, if you're someone who's not proficient in using both weapons for the class, you have one that you prefer over the other, or you're just better at that weapon overall, you will find that you end up with more damage overall by focusing on that one weapon itself. Now, that does come with a caveat. There are some enemies in the game that will resist your weapon type, making it so you do less damage with that weapon. Specifically, I'm thinking of Anga and Faleg, and there are other weapon or other missions that will increase the damage of certain weapon types when resistances will go down. So I'm thinking like weapon or missions like Fanatical Phantasms, so on and so forth. So it might be best to have access to using more than one weapon. However, to each is their own. They can decide on their own if you want to play that sort of way. So I'm going to go over what your non-negotiables are and where things can change depending upon how you play this class itself. Let's get started. So with Bouncer, it's fairly simplistic. You're going to take high level Bouncer. It doesn't make any sense not to have this. And of course, you're gonna have to have 3 points your dexterity up. That's your start for everything. So here's where things are gonna start to move around. You choose your weapon type, right? So let's say we're going Soaring Blades. Soaring Blades, we're gonna want Photon Blade Fever and Escape, as well as Photon Blade Fever up and Soaring Blades Focus. Those are pretty obvious. Pretty normal, nothing big there. Grabbing Critical Field and Field Remain. With these two combination, you actually end up with 100% uptime on your critical field. Because whenever your critical field drops, it drops for 90. So basically, it's active for 60 seconds. The cooldown is 90 seconds, which starts the moment you press the button. And Field Remain lasts for 30 seconds. So that means it's up 100% of the time. Field Remain just means you keep the effect. Even you keep it when it goes away. So this is not for other people that walk into your field only. This also affects you. You keep your buff for 30 seconds after your field disappears. So if you walk, or if you pop your buff, it goes away after 6 seconds. After 30 more seconds, that Field Remain covers it. It goes away, but you have the button up again. Keep in mind, dodge autofield also automatically procs your critical field without you having to press the button, as well as it doesn't affect its cooldown, so you could have it up indefinitely as long as you dodge through one thing at least once a minute. So there you go. So with Soaring Blades, this is where things kind of take a bit of a turn. Actually, no, I'm not even going to jump into that just yet. I'm going to talk into what you absolutely need if you're playing Phantom as a sub. So Phantom as a subclass does not have any defensive options available to you. You're basically living on the razor's edge. You need to be able to survive hits. You have to be able to heal yourself back up. So a lot of people tend to opt for certain things. One thing that I will recommend is Crafting Mastery. Crafting Mastery grants you bonus stats. So you get a bonus to the equipment that has, or that are crafted. Basically, they're bonuses that equipment itself, if it's a crafted piece of equipment. And you're thinking to yourself, I'm not going to be using a crafted 13-star. I'm not going to be using 12-star units. How does this work out? Well, your units, if they have timed abilities on them, count as crafted, meaning you get bonus defensive stats while you have the timed ability on a unit itself, since it counts as crafted. Right now, this is your only defensive option. This is it. This is the only thing that's keeping you alive. Outside of things that you have on your weapons itself, this is all you've got. And I highly, highly recommend it because things on ultra hard will slap you really, really hard for a lot of your HP. So this is it. This is the most important stuff to you itself overall. I'm even gonna drop this here really quick. If you're just like, I need to figure out where to start when it comes to Bouncer, what should I be grabbing? That's it. This is the basis of what your tree should be. grabbing your attack, PP restore, and D-band, or your D-band attack, PP restore, and your shift air attack boost. Important. Grabbing your field itself. You can opt to grab elemental PP restore field later, but honestly, it's not that important. Critical field is going to be your important one to grab right now, and then crafting mastery and high level boost. That's it. That's the most that you're looking for. Now, we're going into a bit more specialized now. So let's say we're playing Soaring Blades. Soaring Blades has the option to actually go all in on break stance because you have the ability break stance D. Break stance D gives you 90% effectiveness of break stance while you're attacking a non-breakable part. Now keep in mind, break stance does also have break stance critical, giving you extra crit chance while you're attacking a breakable part. Break stance D does not proc your critical chance. The reason you can get away with this is because Phantom Sub. Phantom Sub offers you crit based on your amount of PP. Based on your max amount of PP. So because you can generate a lot of crit chance, I believe you get up to almost 50% crit as long as you have 250 PP, which you should theoretically be able to maintain considering you get 10 extra PP just from having level 95 and an extra 20 PP from Phantom Sub. You should be able to maintain or get very close to that magical amount of PP that you need to get a ton of crit chance. So maintaining the fact that you won't be able to hit a breakable part all the time is not the worst thing in the world. You actually end up getting to a point, I believe, where you can drop this completely. Hang on, let me double check. So you would run 30% crit plus 5% base plus 50% from Phantom plus 20% from your ring, which would put you at 100%. So you actually could go without taking critical at all, dropping all of these points. But you might need a few points depending upon how much PP you actually have if you can't get the full use of critical stream. So really, really strong, really, really powerful, very, very useful. Of course, take Soaring Blades focus if we're going to play Soaring Blades. That much is obvious. So you could, in theory, stop right here and then just take all of your remaining points and super dump them into getting stat ups. And then outside of that, really, only thing you would need is your dodge. I would highly recommend having Sidestep Plus. Yes, you do have plenty of invulnerabilities on Photon Blade Escape, but it is not always going to be useful for you to press Photon Blade Escape. Say if you just used one of your weapon action dashes and you need to go in and dodge through something still, there's a bit of a lag on using a second weapon action dash. It's faster to just dodge or just two-step. Also, dodge auto field. And in some cases, you want to not use your weapon action dash because you're throwing out blades and you may want to save those for, like, say, another part that's coming out fairly soon. Even though technically, in theory, as long as you're in the air, you're getting focus back anyway, still might be beneficial for you to have sidestep up. So this is actually really, really useful. Trying to dodge through abilities without having any points in this is almost impossible. So definitely having some points in. Bare minimum, I'd say 2. Comfy is 3. Any more just going to feel better. So we toss this up to 5. This is just if you're Soaring Blades only, right? Now, probably thinking you've got extra points. Where else should I put them? What else can I do with them? One thing that's actually recommended, funny enough, I believe it's 3 points there. No, it's all 5. Excuse me. Healing bonus. So I mentioned that you don't have a lot of defensive options when it comes to playing Bouncer Phantom. You do take healing on one of your SSAs, either S4 or S5. I think more commonly you take it on the S4 slot. However, well, technically it depends on your weapon that you have. You'd need to swap between weapons, so on and so forth. So it depends on how good you are at the game itself, if you need a healing or not. But one recommended option is to grab healing bonus. Healing bonus does give you increased healing on top of the healing you have already. So for example, say you have an ability that heals you for 30 HP per tech. This goes up to 34. It does actually break over that maximum amount, which is kind of nice. But it does require 10 points to do so. So some people have mixed feelings about whether this is going to be useful for you or not. I just wanted to let you know that this is an option for you, defensive option overall. You can go towards. Now, you can take the rest of your points. You see, I think you have 8 points left over. Max this out or something like that. And then if you really opt to, you can even drop points from here. I believe it's just enough to... Actually, no, you have enough points to do this completely. So you can get quite a few points in overall. And this is if you're just going for Soaring Blades. This does still give you quite a bit of damage. You are only using one stance, so you don't have to worry about any stance management. And if you need the extra points, you can always drop them from here and toss them into break stance critical. again, this only affects broken parts, or only affects breakable parts. You won't be able to get any crit chance off of that. But if you already are max crit, don't have to worry about break stance critical. So you're good to go there. Now, how does this change up if I want to use jet boots? Well, there's a couple of options you can have. Dropping points from here, you can actually do something. It's a little bit weird to do, but because you have access to a complex PA or a compound PA, I guess they're called build-up PAs on global, you can put points into jet boots focus, as well as switch strike, and actually be okay with using jet boots occasionally, having it as your secondary weapon if your other weapon is completely resisted. What this allows you to do is still get some damage out overall with jet boots. The problem is that break stance D doesn't work with jet boots, meaning that break stance, if you're not attacking a breakable part, just isn't going to do any damage with jet boots at all. So some people opt to drop points down and go in for a dual stance tree in this situation itself. Of course, going primarily into Soaring Blades, but still having the access of jet boots. So in those situations, you can completely drop this and opt to go something along these lines. This does give you a little bit more in jet boots itself, but you can specialize a little bit more. It's a little bit more difficult because, again, crafting mastery, you have these 10 points that are being essentially eaten up by something here. You can, of course, go for it. Then drop your heal sharing, and then gives you more points to kind of mess around with some things, so you can get a bit more in melee power boost. This is just taking damage in a situation where you can't get damage any other spot. You can do something along these lines where you have access to both stances. You have ideal situations for both sides. You're still taking crafting mastery. Actually, I would personally drop this and put one here. You're still taking crafting mastery overall, so you still have your defensive option. But you still have the option of switching over to jet boots. And that way, in case you're dealing in a situation where you just aren't in optimal damage, or you want to use your build-up PA, you're not losing a ton of damage with that. Having access to your weapon to use your build-up PA is going to be fairly useful for you. So having an off weapon just to use in those situations can be fairly beneficial. So I'd highly, highly recommend it. And then you're probably thinking, well, what is my tree going to look like if I am going to be playing Bouncer Phantom and using both weapons? Well, you're going to do something along these lines. Something like this is what you're going to be looking at. So the way this works out is Elemental Burst is actually pretty useful when you're using the right SSA. There's an S5 that's pretty powerful, so I would highly recommend at least putting 1 point into it. Taking none of the criticals, you really don't need them as long as you have enough points in Phantom. And then having enough to have your sidestep is kind of nice. Having Elemental PP Restaurate Field is nice because you're going to be playing Jet Boots and you will be on the proper element all the time. And Jet Boots is the more PP hungry weapon between the two of them. You'll just have to drop Healing Share, which I think is kind of a controversial choice anyway. I think it's just more so if you're playing only Soaring Blades Bouncer, so just an option overall. But these are mostly what I'm going to be using for Bouncer trees overall. I will probably toss a link in the video description to each of these trees individually, for the mostly Soaring Blades, the Soaring Blades and Jet Boots combination, and just the Soaring Blades only setup. So that tends to be the way most people tend to play. You can go a Jet Boots only setup. If you do tend to go that, you just drop Break Stance. You can basically drop Break Stance and drop Soaring Blades Focus, drop the Photon Blade Escape stuff, and then of course you have again the option of taking heal sharing if you really want to. I don't think healing is really that great on Jet Boots, since you have access just to casting a tech or Megaversing yourself fairly easily, and of course just take melee power up. Unless you're going with a tech-based build, then of course you want to drop that and take tech power up instead. Just depends on what you're going for overall. Again, I'm going to look through these a little bit more in depth and toss those in the video description. If you're curious about the Phantom tree is ridiculously easy, by the way. It's literally just take everything that isn't main class only. All of these don't affect your main class. So a lot of situations, people just tend to have one tree for both Phantom, main class, and subclass. But basically, you just take everything else. So want to make sure we take Sprint Tech Charge. We take all of these here. And we take this here as well. And we do want to take a Dex Mag. The cool thing about going Bouncer Phantom is you have Phantom Mag, which gives you all these stats based on your Dex, which also stacks with Bouncer Mag, which gives you all of those stats based on your Dex. So you get a lot of statage just from playing the two of these together, getting Phantom Mag and Bouncer Mag to stack on each other, which is pretty awesome. But again, this is a little bit more of a glass cannon-y sort of setup, so be careful. And expect to probably get slapped for all of your HP. It's going to happen a couple of times. Anyway, guys, a like on the video is much appreciated. We're not going to go into that crazy spiel, but like, comment, subscribe. You know how that world works out. If you have any questions, feel free to toss those in the comments. If you want to keep up with the content as it pops up, go ahead and click on the bell icon to be notified of videos as they go live, as well as my community posts when they pop up. Or you can follow me over on Twitter or join the Discord for notifications via that way. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care. Peace out.